Negative thoughts, they invade our minds like unwelcome guests. They arrive unbidden, often without warning, and linger long after they've overstayed their welcome. We all know what it's like to be caught in the grip of such thoughts, to feel as though they have the power to define our world, our actions, and our very sense of self. The trick, however, isn't in trying to avoid these thoughts or push them away. It's in understanding them, confronting them, and ultimately mastering them. You must learn to challenge their dominance, to transform the way you view yourself, and to take responsibility for your mind. Because, make no mistake, what you think shapes who you are. You are not at the mercy of your thoughts unless you allow yourself to be. The first step in combating negative thoughts is to understand them. At their core, these thoughts are often reflections of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. They prey on your insecurities, the doubts you've harbored since childhood, and the pressures you place on yourself in the present moment. If left unchecked, these thoughts can lead to self-doubt, self-sabotage, and ultimately a sense of hopelessness. But to defeat them, you must first ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? Why does this particular thought carry so much weight? The truth is, negative thoughts often stem from exaggerated perceptions of danger or harm. When you stop to examine them, you may realize that these thoughts are rooted in a distorted view of reality, a version of events that is not entirely accurate or fair. Consider, for example, the thought, "I'm not good enough," which is all too common. The weight of this thought can feel crushing, but if you examine it critically, you may find that it's based on unrealistic standards, comparisons to others, or past mistakes. It's not an objective truth, but rather a reflection of your own inner narrative. Recognizing this is a powerful first step in reclaiming your mind. Negative thoughts also thrive when we allow ourselves to become passive observers of our own lives. When you allow your mind to drift unchecked, to ruminate over the same painful memories or imagined futures, you are giving those negative thoughts permission to occupy your mental space. You are not an observer of your thoughts. You are their creator, and you have the power to alter the direction of that creation. To kill negative thoughts, you must be an active participant in the process of mental self-regulation. This requires discipline, self-awareness, and the courage to confront the uncomfortable. One of the most powerful ways to wrestle with negative thoughts is to take action. Action is the antidote to passivity. When you feel overwhelmed by negative thinking, the worst thing you can do is nothing. When you act, even in small ways, you begin to break the grip these thoughts have over you. Action can take many forms, whether it's getting out of bed when you feel exhausted, facing a challenging conversation you've been avoiding, or pushing yourself to pursue your goals despite the fear of failure. Each small step you take chips away at the fortress of negativity that's been built around you. Every time you act in spite of fear, you strengthen your resolve and challenge the very foundation of those negative thoughts. Of course, action alone is not always enough. You must also cultivate a mindset of responsibility, because ultimately, you are the one who is responsible for the state of your own mind. This is a deeply uncomfortable truth for many, because it means accepting that the way you perceive the world is influenced not just by external circumstances, but by your internal responses to those circumstances. It means taking full ownership of your reactions, thoughts, and emotions. This is not an easy task. It's far easier to blame others, circumstances, or even fate for your struggles. But blaming others is a form of avoidance. It allows you to stay stuck in the victim mentality, where the power lies outside of you. True freedom comes from realizing that you can change your perception, your response, and your behavior. This is not to say that external forces do not affect you. Rather, it's a recognition that your interpretation of those forces is where you have the most control. One way to take responsibility is to challenge your negative thoughts with counter evidence. When you think, "I'll never be able to do this," ask yourself, is that really true? Have I faced challenges before and succeeded? What's different now? Oftentimes, negative thoughts are simply reflections of your own self-doubt. They are not grounded in reality, but in your own limitations. Your mind often amplifies worst-case scenarios, imagining disaster where none exists. By examining the evidence, your past successes, your strengths, and your capacity for growth, you can begin to dismantle the negative thought patterns that have held you back. Another effective strategy for combating negative thoughts is to set clear, achievable goals. When you are clear about what you want and have a plan for how to get there, you bring order to the chaos of your mind. Goals give you something concrete to focus on. something that moves you forward rather than keeping you mired in self-defeating thoughts. Importantly, goals must be framed in a way that acknowledges your own responsibility. You are not merely a passive recipient of success. You are the one who must take the necessary steps to achieve it. This responsibility is empowering, not burdensome. It reminds you that your fate is not determined by external circumstances, but by your own willingness to act, learn, and grow. It is also vital to practice self-compassion, especially in the face of negative thoughts. This does not mean excusing yourself from responsibility or shirking your duties. Rather, it means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would extend to a close friend. Negative thoughts often thrive on self-criticism, on the belief that you are not worthy of success or happiness. But the truth is, everyone faces struggles. Everyone has their moments of self-doubt. The key is not to let those moments define you. Instead, practice forgiving yourself for mistakes, acknowledging your efforts, and recognizing that growth is a process, not a destination. When faced with negative thoughts, it's also crucial to reframe them. This involves looking at the situation from a different perspective, one that emphasizes opportunity rather than limitation. For instance, consider a situation in which you feel inadequate. Instead of succumbing to the thought that "I'm not good enough," you can reframe it as an opportunity for growth. I may not be where I want to be right now, but I have the ability to learn, to improve, and to become better with effort. Reframing shifts the focus from what you lack to what you can gain through action, persistence, and resilience. Another powerful tool in overcoming negative thoughts is to focus on gratitude. It's easy to become consumed by what's wrong in our lives, but when you consciously focus on the good, on the small victories, the people who support you, the opportunities that lie before you, you shift the balance of your mental state. Gratitude fosters a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity, of growth rather than stagnation. This shift is crucial in overcoming the negative thought patterns that so often keep us trapped in a cycle of despair. Start by acknowledging what you have, what you've achieved, and the small blessings that surround you every day. This simple practice can reframe your mind and provide a sense of perspective. It's also helpful to establish routines that support mental well-being. Routines create structure and stability in your life, which can help keep negative thoughts at bay. When you establish healthy habits, whether it's regular exercise, a balanced diet, sufficient sleep, or time for relaxation, you create a foundation upon which your mental state can thrive. Physical health and mental health are deeply interconnected, and when one is neglected, the other suffers. By taking care of your body, you strengthen your capacity to deal with the challenges of your mind. This is not about perfection. It's about consistency, small steps that lead to cumulative improvement. Finally, remember that overcoming negative thoughts is not a one-time event, but a continuous process. It requires constant vigilance, a commitment to self-improvement, and the courage to face discomfort. There will be setbacks, moments when the darkness seems overwhelming, but this is where true growth happens. Resilience is built in the face of adversity, and it's in these moments that you have the opportunity to rewrite your story. You are not defined by your negative thoughts, but by how you respond to them. Every time you choose to rise above them, to take responsibility for your own mind, you reclaim a piece of your power. And in doing so, you not only kill those negative thoughts, you transcend them. Negative thoughts are not inevitable. They are a product of how you choose to perceive the world. By actively taking responsibility for your thoughts, challenging distortions, and replacing them with healthier perspectives, you regain control over your mental state. You are not a passive observer of your mind. Your choices shape your reality. When negative thoughts take hold, the worst thing you can do is nothing. Taking action, even in small ways, breaks the cycle of fear and doubt. Whether it's tackling a task you've been avoiding, setting clear goals, or confronting difficult situations head-on, action serves as the antidote to paralyzing negativity and builds resilience over time. We all experience moments when negative thoughts come creeping in, often at the most inconvenient times. They can take many forms: self-doubt, worry about the future, or regret about the past. These thoughts, though unpleasant, are not inherently harmful. In fact, they are a natural part of the human experience. What truly matters is how we respond to them. Do we accept them as truth, letting them shape our reality? Or do we challenge them, transforming them into a tool for growth and self-discovery? The difference between those who remain trapped in negative thought patterns and those who break free lies in the understanding that ultimately we have control over our minds. By taking responsibility for our thoughts, we can master our mental state and take charge of our lives. At first glance, the idea of taking responsibility for your thoughts may seem impossible or even absurd. After all, thoughts seem to arrive spontaneously. We don't always control when or how they emerge. But this idea of responsibility isn't about controlling every single thought that comes into your head. Rather, it's about how you respond to those thoughts and the choices you make after they appear. In essence, the first step in mastering your mind is recognizing that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You have the power to decide whether to let a passing thought dictate your actions or whether to challenge it and reshape it into something more useful. It's easy to slip into a passive mindset where we believe that thoughts simply happen to us. After all, thoughts often seem like uncontrollable waves crashing in on us, especially in moments of stress or vulnerability. It can feel as though our minds are constantly bombarded with an endless stream of judgments, fears, and worries. But here lies the crux of the issue. When we let these thoughts take root and go unchecked, we allow them to shape our reality. We begin to believe that we are the thoughts that pass through our minds, that we are inherently flawed, unworthy, or incapable. This is where responsibility comes into play. The most important choice you can make is to separate yourself from your thoughts and recognize that you do not have to accept everything that enters your mind as truth. This separation isn't always easy, and it requires practice. It's crucial to develop a heightened level of self-awareness and awareness that enables you to notice when negative thoughts arise without automatically reacting to them. This self-awareness allows you to step back, examine the thought, and ask yourself, is this thought accurate? Is it based on evidence, or is it a distortion of reality? By questioning your thoughts in this way, you start to break free from the automatic habitual patterns of thinking that have held you back. You give yourself the opportunity to choose how you will respond rather than reacting impulsively or letting your emotions take control. Consider the way we tend to view ourselves. Most people have a strong internal narrative that dictates their sense of self-worth. We measure our value by our achievements, how others perceive us, or how we compare to others. This internal narrative, though powerful, is not necessarily rooted in objective truth. It's shaped by our experiences, upbringing, and cultural conditioning, often reinforcing limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns. This is why the process of taking responsibility for your thoughts is so important. It allows you to take a step back and recognize that the way you view yourself may not reflect your true potential. When you challenge these ingrained thoughts, you create the space for a more balanced and truthful understanding of who you are. You are not defined by past mistakes or fleeting moments of self-doubt. You are defined by your capacity for growth, learning, and resilience. The key to mastering your mind is learning to interrupt the cycle of negative thinking. When a negative thought arises, you don't need to give it power. Instead, you can choose to examine it critically. Take a moment to reflect on the thought's origins. Is it based on evidence or assumption? What emotion does it trigger in you, and why? Often, negative thoughts are based on irrational fears or exaggerated perceptions of danger. For instance, you may think, "I'll never be successful." But if you pause to examine this thought, you'll realize that success isn't an all or nothing proposition. Success is a process, a series of steps that require effort, persistence, and learning. By examining the evidence of your life, your past efforts, your current skills, and the opportunities available to you, you can start to see that success is not only possible but also within your control. This practice of questioning your thoughts helps you detach from them. When you step back and observe your thoughts without judgment, you take away their power to define you. Instead of feeling overwhelmed or trapped by a negative thought, you can see it for what it is: just a thought, not an immutable truth. From this vantage point, you have the power to decide how you want to move forward. You can choose to challenge the thought, replace it with a more constructive one, or let it pass without giving it any further attention. This ability to challenge your thoughts is critical, particularly when it comes to self-limiting beliefs. Many people hold deep-seated convictions about their own inadequacy, such as, "I'm not smart enough," or "I'm not capable of succeeding." These beliefs often arise from past experiences, failures, or comparisons to others. They become ingrained in our psyche and can dictate our behavior if we don't actively challenge them. Taking responsibility for your thoughts means questioning these beliefs and replacing them with a more accurate and empowering narrative. Instead of thinking, "I'm not capable," you might ask yourself, What evidence do I have that suggests I'm not capable? What have I done in the past that shows my ability to learn and grow? By challenging these beliefs, you can begin to replace them with thoughts that are more supportive of your growth and success. An essential aspect of taking responsibility for your thoughts is recognizing that you are not powerless in the face of difficulty. Life is filled with challenges, and it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that you are at the mercy of circumstances. When things don't go according to plan, it's common to think, I'm a failure, or this is too hard, I can't handle it. However, by taking responsibility for your thoughts, you realize that your perception of a situation has a significant impact on how you experience it. It's not the difficulty of the challenge that defines you, but how you respond to it. You have the power to choose how you will approach obstacles, and by doing so, you cultivate resilience and strength. This ability to shift your perspective is especially important when faced with failure or setbacks. When things don't go as expected, it's easy to slip into negative thinking and self-criticism. But failure is not the end. It's an opportunity for growth. Each failure is a lesson in what doesn't work, a step toward understanding what needs to change in order to succeed. By taking responsibility for your thoughts, you can reframe failure as part of the learning process rather than something to be feared or avoided. Mastering your mind also requires cultivating a mindset of growth. Instead of focusing on limitations, focus on possibilities. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, ask yourself, what steps can I take to improve? This shift in perspective can be transformative. When you see challenges as opportunities for growth, you are more likely to take action, learn from your experiences, and ultimately achieve your goals. You stop seeing obstacles as roadblocks and start seeing them as stepping stones to success. In addition to reframing your thoughts, it's important to develop practices that reinforce a positive mental state. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, and healthy eating habits are foundational to mental well-being. But beyond these physical practices, it's important to engage in mental practices that promote clarity and focus. Meditation, journaling, and mindfulness exercises can help you cultivate awareness of your thoughts, giving you the tools you need to take responsibility for them. These practices help you build mental resilience, allowing you to stay calm and centered even in the face of adversity. When we're trapped in negative thinking, we tend to dwell on possibilities that haven't even happened yet, worst-case scenarios, imagined failures, and negative outcomes. The mind, in its unchecked state, can become a breeding ground for anxiety, fear, and doubt. Negative thoughts take on a life of their own, and the longer they are left unchallenged, the more ingrained they become in our psyche. They distort our perception of reality, and we begin to believe that our fears, doubts, and anxieties are the ultimate truth. We may find ourselves thinking, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, or I'll never succeed. These thoughts can paralyze us, making it difficult to take any sort of action at all. But the paradox is this: the more we feed these negative thoughts by avoiding action, the stronger they become. The more we give in to fear, the more entrenched it becomes in our minds. This is where action comes in. Taking action, no matter how small, disrupts the flow of negative thoughts. It forces you to engage with reality rather than allowing your mind to run wild with what-ifs. Action brings you back to the present moment, shifting your focus from abstract fears and anxieties to real, tangible steps that move you forward. It is, in essence, a countermeasure to the paralysis caused by negative thinking. The concept of taking action to combat negative thinking is not just about doing something for the sake of staying busy. It's about deliberate, purposeful action that shifts your focus, challenges your fears, and propels you toward your goals. Taking action requires you to confront your doubts and take responsibility for your progress. It requires you to acknowledge that, while your thoughts may try to convince you otherwise, you have the ability to make choices and take control of your circumstances. One of the most significant reasons action is so powerful is that it creates momentum. When you take that first step, however small it may be, you break free from the grip of negative thinking. You prove to yourself that you are not helpless, that you are not at the mercy of your thoughts or fears. Each step you take, no matter how insignificant it may seem, builds confidence and creates forward motion. As you continue to take action, you begin to gain a sense of mastery over your thoughts and your circumstances. Your negative thoughts lose their power because they are no longer dictating your behavior. You begin to dictate your own actions, moving in the direction of your goals. A common obstacle that keeps people from taking action in the face of negative thinking is the fear of failure. We often avoid taking action because we fear that we won't succeed, or worse, that we'll fail publicly. The desire to protect ourselves from failure is natural, but it is also one of the primary forces that keeps us stuck in negative thinking. The paradox, however, is that the fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. Failure is not something to be feared, it is a necessary step in the process of growth. It is an opportunity to learn, to adjust, and to try again with greater insight and experience. When you take action, even if it doesn't result in immediate success, you are still moving forward. The very act of trying, of putting yourself out there despite the possibility of failure, is a victory in and of itself. Failure becomes less about an endpoint and more about a stepping stone on the path to success. Each time you take action and face a setback, you learn something new about yourself and the world around you. You gain resilience, knowledge, and experience, which over time reduce the power of negative thinking. Action also helps to reframe our relationship with fear. Often we let fear dictate our choices. We avoid taking action because we're afraid of what might happen. But when we act despite our fears, we begin to realize that fear is often not as powerful as we think it is. Taking action allows us to face our fears head on, and as we do so, we realize that the things we feared were often much less threatening than we imagined. Fear loses its grip on us as we continue to act in spite of it. One way that action helps combat negative thinking is by providing a sense of purpose. Negative thoughts often arise from a lack of direction or from feeling lost. When we don't know what we want or where we're headed, our minds are free to wander into unproductive or harmful thought patterns. We become consumed by our doubts, our worries, and our fears because we don't have a clear sense of where we are going or what we are working toward. Taking purposeful action, on the other hand, gives us a sense of clarity and direction. It provides us with something to focus on, something to strive toward. When you take action with a sense of purpose, negative thoughts become less intrusive because they no longer dominate your mind. You are too busy moving toward your goal, and you begin to see obstacles not as barriers but as challenges to be overcome. Purpose-driven action also aligns your thoughts with your values. Negative thoughts often emerge when we feel disconnected from our core beliefs and values. We may find ourselves doubting our worth or questioning our abilities when we feel that we are not living in alignment with who we truly are. But purposeful action helps bridge this gap. When you take steps toward your goals that are aligned with your values, you create a sense of congruence between your thoughts, your actions, and your deeper sense of self. This alignment fosters confidence and reduces the power of negative thinking because you are living in a way that reflects your authentic self. Another reason action is such a potent antidote to negative thinking is that it engages your body as well as your mind. Negative thinking is often a mental and emotional experience, but taking action brings your physical body into the equation. When you engage in physical action, whether it's exercising, working on a project, or engaging in a difficult conversation, you break the grip that negative thoughts have over your mind. Action forces you to move, to stretch your muscles, and to engage with the physical world around you. This shift from mental rumination to physical engagement is essential because it forces your focus away from abstract worries and into the present moment. It allows you to feel grounded, connected, and capable, reducing the power of negative thinking. This connection between action and the present moment is critical. When we're stuck in negative thinking, our minds tend to dwell on the past or the future. We replay old mistakes or imagine disastrous scenarios in our heads, but action brings us back to the present, where our power truly lies. When you take action, you can't simultaneously obsess over the past or worry about the future. You must be present in the moment. This focus on the here and now disrupts the endless loop of negative thinking, allowing you to experience life as it is, rather than through the distorted lens of fear and doubt. The key to using action as the antidote to negative thinking is consistency. Taking action once in a while might help alleviate negative thoughts temporarily, but it's the consistent, deliberate action that creates lasting change. The more you take action, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you can handle challenges, and that you can make progress toward your goals. Consistency creates momentum, and momentum reduces the power of negative thoughts. Over time, you start to see that negative thinking no longer has the same grip on you. It doesn't define you. You define yourself through your actions. Moreover, consistent action fosters self-trust. Negative thinking often stems from a lack of trust in ourselves. We may doubt our ability to succeed, or we may fear that we will fail if we try. But when we consistently take action, even in small ways, we prove to ourselves that we are capable. Each action we take reinforces our belief in ourselves. We begin to trust our ability to handle challenges, and this trust weakens the hold that negative thoughts have over us. When you trust yourself, you are less likely to be overwhelmed by fear, doubt, or worry. Action also fosters a sense of accomplishment. Even the smallest steps forward provide a sense of achievement. When you take action, you create momentum, and each small victory builds on the last. Over time, you accumulate evidence of your ability to succeed, and this evidence becomes a powerful antidote to the negative thoughts that once held you back. Negative thoughts lose their power when they are confronted with tangible proof of your progress and abilities. In conclusion, action is the antidote to negative thinking because it disrupts the cycle of fear and doubt, engages you in the present moment, and builds momentum toward your goals. It challenges your fears, cultivates self-trust, and aligns your thoughts with your values. Action is a direct response to the paralysis caused by negative thinking, and through consistent, purposeful action, you can reclaim control of your mind and your life. The more you act, the less power negative thinking has over you. Action is not just something you do. It is the key to transforming your mindset, overcoming obstacles, and achieving success. When you take action, you choose to rise above your negative thoughts and create a future that reflects your true potential.